Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another meet and greet. This one is for our Hijab 30 challenge. I'm here with Karrie. Karrie is joining us from Portland, Oregon today. Karrie is a master's student at Portland State University, and she is studying Applied Linguistics. She graduated with her bachelor's in political science in 2018. She returned to school after dropping out in the 80s. So I love stories like that where people kind of leave school and they come back later because I worked at a university, so I love hearing those stories. But Karrie's interest in the Muslim world and religious divides was sparked when her family hosted a high school junior from Bahrain for a year. She was surprised at the insensitivity and ignorant comments and questions. So she that's when she got some interest in that. So she's taking part in the 30-day hijab challenge because she's got some hijabi friends and she's seen some discrimination and prejudice that they face. And so, Karrie, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm really happy to be here.
Great. I'm so excited that you're here with us. And the challenge is starting tomorrow. Are you ready?
No. I have a very large collection of scarves.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all a mess. And so this is my motivation to kind of sort them and get them organized so that I will be ready. Yeah.
I feel like sometimes no matter how much you plan and prepare, the day comes and it's just like, oh my gosh, here, because I just keep thinking about how we're going to fast. And it doesn't really feel like it's here, but I'm just like, we're like hours away at this point,
Right.
It's here, yeah.
It never starts until it starts, and then it's over so fast. Yeah.
Yeah. So, gotta be interesting to see what this year is like. And, a lot of times I feel like the hijab I want to wear is never ready and I have to end up steaming it last minute. And my husband's always like, are you ready to go? I'm like, let me just steam this real quick. So it's like never the color I want, that happens.
Yes, it's very, yeah, well, and if you want to match, it's like this whole new accessorizing world opens up. Yeah.
Yes, that is very true.
Yes.
So you have seen some Islamophobia toward hijabis. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you witnessed?
One of my best friends is hijabi, and what I notice is just the way people look at her. She's also African American. She's Somali. And so there's the additional piece there of the American prejudice against African Americans and Somalis. And so you add all of those together, and it's just heartrending sometimes, the stories that I hear. And then a few years ago in Portland, a few hijabi women were harassed on the Max train. Coming up, it was Memorial Day. And several men on the Max, which is the light rail that we have, several men intervened, and two ended up losing their lives. And that was really traumatic for a lot of reasons. One is it could have been a lot of my friends, but it could have been me wearing a headscarf, right? And it could have been any one of my children. It could have been my adult children. It could have been my husband. So it makes it the risks of this kind of hate-based approach is certainly is for hijabis, but it's not just, it hurts us all, right?
That's very true.
Yeah. So that's I've been wearing hijab on Fridays for many years. It was just something I'd done. So I knew, when this happened, that it certainly could have been me. Yeah.
Wow. I actually saw a video recently online of a girl talking about how somebody came up to her and was talking to her, and they said, "Oh, where you from?" And I think she's like, "I'm Dominican." And they were like, "But what about your scarf?" She was like a Muslim, and they were like, "How can you be both, basically?"
How can you be both? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Being Muslim is for anyone, and a lot of people still don't understand that or realize it. So
I've worn hijab in the small town Oregon and walked into art galleries and been asked if I'm, visiting from someplace exotic. Right? I'm like, well, Portland.
So you've even kind of experienced some interesting conversations because you've been wearing it out.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and part of the reason I wear it is to have those conversations, right? I feel like I've lived with a Bahraini boy. I have a best friend who's Hijabi, so I feel well educated enough to be able to represent appropriately, but also be sometimes more approachable for people because of the racism thing. Yeah, it's about making it normal. I mean, part of my reason for doing this year is really the response in France. I'm sorry, my camera keeps dropping.
No
problem. The response in France to the hijab ban in France, which is just insanity. If I lived in France, I'd be wearing a headscarf every day because I'm a Christian. What are they going to do?
Right.
And if all the Christian men start wearing a headscarf, what are they going to do? That's the way we stop this kind of thing.
Yeah. And I always say it seems like one country feeds off of another. I mean, it's happening everywhere, but France really seems to be sticking it to Muslims a lot in the past few years. There's been multiple things. They're even going to by I think it's July of this year ban the halal slaughter of chicken. I mean, it's a constant attack on everything, but fight for hijab is constant in France and in many other countries, and that absolutely blows my mind, but that's why we do what we do, and we're very grateful for people like you who are willing to step out and speak about it, so I'm really glad that you told me you've been wearing it on Friday. How long have you been doing that?
Oh, probably 10 years, 8 years.
Wow, that's amazing. That's cool.
I have to say I'm not perfectly consistent, right? But and things with COVID times, things have fallen off a little. But I mean, but it was habit for a really long time. It just became a habit. It's Friday, I wear a hijab, and I make a point with most people in most contexts. I make a point of calling it a headscarf. Mm-hmm. Because I've had Muslims and hijabis take me to task for calling it hijab when I'm putting it on and taking it off.
Exactly. I think, though, the reason that you're wearing it, I think that speaks volumes. So I think when you explain why they should hopefully understand a little bit better, why you're doing it. I mean, we do have World Hijab Day, and some people, they wear it once a year, and you recite it once a week, which is just really amazing to me. So
it actually becomes fun, right? French women, and they're using scarves for accessories, and it's not something that I think was something I did a lot. But I had this collection of scarves that I'd kind of grown over the years, and it's fun to do it different and to have a different sort of way to accessorize, right? I don't know that that's the way you want to talk about it to people, but if you want to wear a headscarf, I mean, my dear son of my heart, he says, it says very clearly, all Christian, Jewish, and Muslim women can wear headscarves. You're a woman. It says that.
Yes. Lots of other religions have these things, and they talk about it. And there's people who maybe only wear it when they go to church, for example, as Christians and things like that. So lots of other religions take part in wearing some sort of headdress, I guess you could say.
Sure.
So I'm really curious if you'll take me back for a moment to that time where your family hosted a student from Bahrain, please.
Yes.
And how that went.
How that went? Well, this young boy is Bahraini, and I had a brand new infant, little girl, and it was about April, and there were emails over the community email that they had this Bahraini boy who was coming to our valley, and we lived outside of Seattle at the time, and needed a home. And I went, oh, that'd be nice, but I had a 2-month-old, and I was breastfeeding, and I knew enough about Islam at the time to realize that breastfeeding with a young Muslim boy coming to America was not going to be something that was going to be navigable for me, right? And so I put it out of my mind, right? It was like, that's just not going to work. The modesty issues are more than not that I had a problem with it, but things would make him uncomfortable, right? It would be too much. And so then it became late July, and my daughter was weaned, and this young boy still needed a home. And I said, okay, we'll try it for a few weeks. And so he came to live with us, and it was truly an adventure because dietary, his application said no dietary restrictions at all. And I went, we'll see. Oh no. He wanted all halal food. And more than that, he wanted all dhabiha. We had to go through for the longest time, he couldn't understand the difference between dhabiha and halal, right? So I'll explain it to everyone. When I finally explained it to him, is you can kill the pig's dhabiha, but it will never be halal, right? So dhabiha is the way you kill it, and whether it's allowed. And so we had to navigate all of that, and it was really difficult for quite some time. But we got through it. We figured it out. There was assistance, and but there was also a language barrier, and it was a young 17-year-old boy. I mean, it was a struggle. It was hard, but now he just had a daughter, so I am a grand auntie, and it was an amazing experience. I encourage folks to get exchange students, and I really encourage folks to get exchange students from scholarship programs. Hamani came on now I can't remember the name of it escapes me now, but it's one of the State Department programs in the Middle East. It's a YES, Youth Education. It's under the Kennedy Lugar stuff. So it was great. We love him. We're still in touch. We had planned to go. He was going to get married last March, but of course, COVID intervened.
So you said you already knew a little bit about Islam before meeting him. Is that correct?
Yes, I grew up Unitarian, and so as a child, my religious education, it follows that curriculum, but each year we'd have a quarter of world religions, a quarter of Judeo-Christian heritage, and a quarter of Unitarian Universalist history. And so going to synagogue was part of our Judeo-Christian heritage quarter, right, when we became of age. Having those experiences, learning about Taoism, learning about Confucianism, and learning about Islam as well. I think now they should call it Abrahamic heritage, and world religions should, maybe. But it's a time that made sense, right? So yeah, I had a bit of a background already. Mm-hmm. I certainly still had a crash course in Zabiha and halal, and yeah, it was an adventure. We loved it. Yeah.
So how did you come to learn about World Hijab Day?
I think it came across my Facebook group. It came across my Facebook one day. And I went, well, I can wear a hijab on February 1st. I already wear it every Friday. So that sounded great. And then when I saw that you were doing it for Ramadan, I thought it occurred to me to wear a headscarf for Lent. Mm-hmm. Because somehow that felt appropriate. But Ramadan feels just as appropriate, right?
Good, I'm glad. Yeah. How do you feel when you wear it?
I enjoy wearing it. It's interesting. I think when you have hijab on, it's similar to having your makeup done perfectly. It's a similar feeling of support, right? Or safety, mm-hmm. right? And security, and they're very similar to me. I find it interesting. And sometimes it's just warm, right? Like it's just warm. and one of my dearest friends, sometimes I show up in a headscarf on a Tuesday, and he'd be like, bad hair day, huh?
Well, some people have bad hijab days too. Where it just doesn't fit right.
Oh, I've had that. I've had slippery everywhere. You can't. It's all nothing's working.
The wind is not in your favor.
Right. And it feels wrong for me to just whip it off in public and fix it. It's just, that feels, even though I don't have that same feeling of nakedness, it feels wrong, right? It feels like, well, you can't do that, right? Because then everybody would assume that. So, yeah, you gotta go find a quiet place where you can Yeah, it's not always easy.
When you when you started putting it on Fridays and things for the week, did it go, I guess, with your wardrobe already, or did you find that you were trying to wear long sleeves more, or cover more, I guess?
I do try to cover more and not wear, say, a headscarf with a swimsuit, right? Or I do wear slacks and I will wear jeans, right? I don't go so far as to worry about covering my behind. And I know I don't make sure I wear a tunic length top. Um, so, but I know every woman has to kind of navigate those lines about modesty on their own, right? And so they stay in line with sort of what I would find modest if I was, say, going to visit my grandmother, right?
I gotcha. I gotcha. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
I mentioned in one of the previous interviews, for me, it was a fairly, I think, easy transition. I still wear my jeans, but try to make sure that everything is covered completely. And how awkward I would feel if I was wearing like a t-shirt in my hijab. Like it just doesn't feel like it goes together.
Right.
So,
There are there are things that just don't work, right? It's funny sometimes, like I'll put it on and it just doesn't work. It's not it's so you do have to sort of figure out, because it's different lines, right? So everything breaks different and it just looks different. So even this outfit, if I add a scarf, it's all going to be different.
yeah, everybody goes on their own hijab journey, as we like. So you've got a lot of hijabs, you said. So, and you've got kind of gathered those over time. Is it pretty accessible to go out in Portland and get one, or do you have to order online?
Well, they're headscarves. They're just, some of them are I mean, just scarves that I've purchased, right? And then I use them as a headscarf. And I get, I have my every once in so often, my friend, Sada, she brings me a new one.
Mm.
So I've been setting this aside. It needs to be pressed now, but I'll wear it tomorrow because she brought it for me new, and it's just so beautiful. So then they just, but I don't always wear them for hijab, right? I might wear them around my neck or
right,
as a shawl, as a sunshade, anything like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I always get excited if I go to like a store that maybe doesn't necessarily sell hijabs, but you can still find like a really nice scarf that would work. That's always nice too.
Yes. I find that when you get hijabs, they tend to be less expensive than going to the stores and getting scarves. Scarves tend to be more expensive. For whatever reason that is in this culture, but I don't know. But where's a good place is Goodwill. Goodwill is amazing.
Yeah.
Goodwill is amazing for headscarves because everybody gets rid of them.
At some point, I guess you have to clean out your closet. I feel like a lot of people too, when World Hijab Day comes around, those hijabs that they don't wear anymore, they often end up donating. And so you can do events and things. They clean them up and donate them. And I have to confess that every time I've done a World Hijab Day event or gone to one, I always end up finding a new scarf, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look how cute this is.
Maybe yeah,
so It's always fun. I end up donating hijabs, but I always at least find one that I just
One
fall in love with.
that it's
You
like
can't live without it.
I have handbags and I have shoes and I have scarves, right? Like, yeah, you just collect them. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. So, what do you hope to personally gain from wearing the hijab for 30 days during Ramadan?
I don't,
I know.
it's not for me. It's not for me. Right? It's,
Say that.
yeah, it's not for me. I enjoy wearing it. It's fun. I love being able to support my hijabi sisters this way. Um, I chuckle because invariably when there's a picture of me in hijab, all of my Muslim friends tell me I look beautiful. Right? It's but at the same time that's it makes me feel good. So I mean, yeah, I do get something out of it. I enjoy it. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. So, have you told your hijabi friends and your Muslim friends that you're doing this, and how did they react?
I haven't told them yet. I mean, I mentioned it to some friends, and I've got a friend of mine who's going to wear for 30 days with me. So that'll be fun. Um, my my closest hijabi friend has been on honeymoon for the last 3 weeks, so I haven't seen her, and I wanted to wait to tell her in person.
I'm sure they'll be excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. So, when you wear it, you obviously go out in public a lot. So you wear it at the university. Do you go on campus for classes and things like that, or do you mostly do online?
I used to go to class. I mean, I used to go on campus with it. For a while, I changed my day to Thursday instead of Friday because there was never any classes on Fridays, and I would just be home on Fridays. So it'd be like, well, I'm not going anywhere. So yeah, I go out, but right now we don't have classes, and I've actually taken a medical leave for this quarter and spring quarters. So we'll see what happens in the fall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's always interesting because you never know with like COVID and things like that where people are getting to go. And you're in the U.S. and the U.S. has been pretty open in certain places. So, like I'm currently in Canada, and right now we're still in a lockdown. Like we just went into another lockdown recently.
Well, you guys actually might have a government that actually follows the science. Maybe, I don't know.
Do have to get some groceries tonight, though. Ramadan is coming, and we have to prepare. We gotta get up for sahur, and so many hours.
But I mean, getting food, it's been a little tricky here in the U.S. with COVID. My family is incredibly lucky. My mother-in-law had a surgery that she needed, and it happened right before COVID hit. And so she's done well. And now that with the vaccine, she's been vaccinated, and we'll be able to get PT in there to help her recover. And my husband can work from home, and the kids can go to school from home. And so we've been really lucky. I don't think everybody is that lucky, unfortunately. But I've also been hit. My aunt passed from COVID in Nebraska in June because she was in a care home, and why are quarantine necessary for a care home? I don't know.
So you mentioned your mother-in-law and your husband, and you have children as well. How do they feel about you wearing the hijab and everything?
They they're fine with it. They're actually really good. My husband and my sons, if my hijabi friends are over, or if they get home and see that my hijabi friends are over, they will not. They won't come in the room before making sure that everyone's dressed, right? Or they won't come in the house, right? So they're very cool with it. It's interesting because they notice more the way people look at me when we're out and about than I do.
Yeah, over time you've probably almost kind of gotten used to it. You're aware of it. You know
I'm
that it happens.
aware of it, but right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And my husband's a big guy and he's got a full beard, so he could be Muslim, right? Like, especially standing next to me with hijab, it's not always clear.
True. Yeah, you never know.
Right,
So,
which is part of my point, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. So, I guess what kind of message or what would you want to tell people about the importance of fasting for unity or taking the hijab 30 challenge? Why is it important?
I think I think it's important because we all too often think that we understand what the other experiences, um, but we think we understand it intellectually, and we haven't actually experienced it. Right? We haven't kind of embodied that knowledge. We haven't lived it. And while wearing a headscarf or fasting for Ramadan are, what am I trying to say? I think they are ways that they're not going to make you a Muslim, right? Like, that's not, those
That's
things
a good
aren't
point.
going to, it's not going to magic. You're not going to wake up and become a Muslim. Like, I've been doing this for a long time and not yet. Now, please, not yet have I been struck Muslim one morning. Um, but it does give you some experience to what assumptions people make, and it's a culture shock in a way, and it hits even harder because the privilege you've had is then stripped away, right? People respond so differently that you have to go, well, wait a second, what is so different? I'm not a different person. And I think that's a good experience for everybody to have.
Yeah. I think each time I've interviewed somebody so far, we always talk about, just taking a walk in someone else's shoes, and
There
just
you go. Yeah.
like you mentioned earlier, making it like normal, for people to see. And I like that you do it so you're always doing it to stand in solidarity with these women and show people that it's okay. It's not something to be scared of. People fear what they don't know, and it sounds like you're doing a really good job at being an advocate.
I do my best. I have gotten pushback, right? I have gotten pushback in social justice circles. Um, and actually, I was pleased when World Hijab Day came around because I didn't have to just say, yes, my friends asked me to do this, right? When I was asked, is this advocacy that has been requested? I could say, here, look, right? It wasn't just my friend asked me.
It's
Um,
people around the world asking.
exactly, exactly.
Yes.
And I have to say, if we were in the other situation and people were being forced to wear hijab, I would be going without. because it's about women get to make that choice.
Yes.
Women get to make that choice.
That's important.
Women get to make that choice. The government doesn't get to make that choice, and men don't get to make that choice. Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
And that would be, men don't get to make that choice. This is a woman's conversation.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much, Karrie, for sharing all of that with us. And
thank you for having me.
that was good.
I'm honored to be asked, actually. So,
We're honored to have you. I'm really excited that we got to sit down and talk, and it's pretty much time,
I think that talking across these divisions are the way we heal the world, right?
Yes. Very good. I hope, I really hope that other people will join as well. We're starting tomorrow, but that doesn't mean somebody can't jump in.
Join it halfway. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone. Thank you to all those who watched. Like I said, we're doing the Hijab 30 challenge. We're also doing Fast for Unity. Everything starts tomorrow. We start
tomorrow.
I know. I'm so excited. Wish me luck getting up. I'm not very good at being a morning person, so I hope everybody else is good.
You sleep through breakfast, don't you?
Yes, I do. I'm so bad. I usually have brunch. I'm a brunch person. So I know that there are going to be nights where we stay up to eat.
Right. Well,
I don't know if I'm going to bed early.
My sons have fasted with our exchange students, and yes, more than once it was, 24 hours. Yeah.
Yep.
Enjoy Ramadan, dear.
Thank you. You too. Ramadan Mubarak, everyone.
Ramadan Mubarak.
All right. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, please refer to our Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at World Hijab Day, and our website also at worldhijabday.com if you are still interested in taking the Fast for Unity or Hijab Challenge. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you for joining us. Ramadan Mubarak.